of all the questions that we had going into the preseason, many of them aren't going to get answered because the starters aren't playing. But some of them are starting to get answered. Hendon Hooker and Jake Bates in particular are starting to answer the question. Jake Bates, consistency is the thing, and that won't be played out till overtime. I mean, he did miss an extra point. Hendon Hooker, he's playing against a bunch of guys who won't be in the league. But, he looks good while doing it. I don't know that he will get a chance to ever play against people who will be in the league, but his performance on Saturday warrants a start this coming Saturday, I would think, against players that are battling for spots.
Yeah, I would think so. I think Hooker should start and really kind of solidify his standing there. And really Nate Sudfeld's playing a lot of catch up at this point. I mean, Sudfeld let's be clear. Nate Sudfeld was better this last week than he was the previous week. All right. He definitely made an improvement. And maybe that's just with getting more comfortable with another week of practice and knowing that he was going to play. And keep in mind that he is coming back from injury and all that. That being said, he also made a couple of terrible passes. But the touchdown pass ended up being 61 yards to Caden Davis. It was a great pass. It was a great play, nicely set up and nice. I think it was blocked by DPJ on that. And it looked great. But Hendon Hooker was the one that you came away with going, wow, with the exception of a bad exchange and maybe a misfire on his second pass of the game out in the flat, which the receiver looked like was pretty open. Beyond that, he looked really good. He looked calm, looked better and more comfortable in the pocket. Decision to take off and run, he did. He slid, listened to mama, got a slide, and overall looked really good. The touchdown run that he had, yeah, I mean, these are – you see flashes and things that he does that it's a different skill set than what our starting quarterback has, and that's okay because starting quarterback is a starting quarterback for a reason.
God, I really liked it when he gets flushed out of the pocket, keeps his eyes downfield, and is able to buy himself a little bit extra time and find a receiver. I think it was in one of the Isaiah Williams catches. He did push the ball downfield a little bit. There was a lot of check down stuff. I mean, I feel like in the preseason, if you just wanted to check down all day underneath, you probably can. There's no game planning. Running backs are wide open. Receivers on crossing routes are wide open. You could do that all the way down the field. And I think Sudfeld did a lot of it, and Hendon Hooker at the beginning did a lot of it. Then he started to push the ball downfield. Hit somebody on a slant. I can't remember who it was. Deep cut, down and in to a receiver. I mean, look, again, these aren't guys that are likely to be in the league. Got it. Understood. We all know that.
But both guys spread the ball around. It wasn't like they were just locked in on one guy. Now, Isaiah Williams had a big game, but there were a ton of receivers that caught the football and that were targeted. And when you're constantly running guys in and out of the lineup, the guys that you're trying to develop that chemistry with in practice, and how do you do that when you have this many players, this many options? You've got rotating offensive linemen coming in and out of the game and running backs, and it's not the ideal situation to try to figure out who your backup is going to be when there's nothing that is set in stone in front of them except for the first unit, which you're not going to get a chance to play with likely ever, unless it's a game situation and the quarterback gets hurt.
Yeah, he won't answer all the questions in the preseason, but he is starting to make a strong case that maybe he will be capable of being a quality backup for Detroit.
He looked really good.
He did.
He looked really good.
And
which is what fans wanted to see.
You want to see it. You don't get mad at, if Hendon Hooker was the best player on the field at the end of that game, then that's what you want out of a high draft pick quarterback. It doesn't check all the boxes, but you just can't do that until you see first team defenses. And you're just not going to in the preseason.